Do pets and animals have souls, and do they go to their own personal heaven? Hey, wonderful people, I'm Frank. We're back here again talking about things in the astral and so on and so forth. And that's a big question, right? We love our pets, we love our furry family, and they don't live as long as we do. They live a fraction of what we do, and then we mourn their passing, sometimes greatly. Honestly, sometimes more than the humans we have in our family, right? Sorry, some family members, it is what it is, right? But we want to know that they're safe, that they're going to a better place, and all that. And when you are in the astral and you kick around in there for long enough, you find out the truth. So let's get to it. The universe, the whole thing, the multiverse. I don't really even think there's a name for it. So, what's the name for the physical universe and all of its possible alternate universes and possibilities and all that stuff? Plus the astral and all their possibilities and all their stuff. I don't know. But all that combined is a consciousness. It's all consciousness. Everything is made up of consciousness. And if there is a God, then that's God. Everything, okay, from a roll of toilet paper to a galaxy, to a galactic neighborhood. There are galactic neighborhoods. Yeah, where galaxies and where a galaxy, where the galaxies are all connected through gravity and energy. Of course, there's the physical universe as well. So, and the physical universe has structures, and gravity pulls everything around, and the energy is going. It's all consciousness. In the astral, it's got its own stuff going on as well. Um, and consciousness builds up to the point where it can inhabit a body. Where do I go with that? That's a whole video in itself. I'm not entirely sure how it works, the how of it. Like, your consciousness can inhabit a physical body, a human physical body, really easy because you're in it, you kind of align with it. If your physical body died now and suddenly you didn't like that, you could inhabit another body very quickly. A fetus or somebody that's like mostly vacated their body in there or in a coma in the hospital. Apparently, anyway, that's word on the astral street that you can do that. I haven't seen it. I haven't done it. Um, and I like to put that into caveats because a lot of people, especially these days on the internet, they say a thing like they know it, like they've experienced it, when it's just conjecture. Um, yeah, and let's just say I'm a real person. I'm not an AI. You'd be surprised how far that technology has come, uh, but it doesn't show up usually on a lot of stuff. So, where am I? I'm getting way off track. Not really. So, can you inhabit a computer instead of a human body? And the answer is no. Um, it's just not complex enough. I'm not really sure why. So if we have robots that are a lot like humans, that's still not going to cut it. We're not able to inhabit those. You're not able to put a soul into a consciousness into that and manipulate it that way. You can manipulate a body. I don't know why. Um, I keep the ideas keep going in my head. It's a complex thing of chemicals and consciousness, and your cells and body in your body have a consciousness of their own, and then your organs have a consciousness of their own, and on and on. And your body itself has a consciousness away from you. Yeah. So if somebody, and this happens a lot, right, has a traumatic illness and they don't want their body anymore, they vacate it, the body is still alive, it's in a vegetative coma state, and sometimes they give that up, and sometimes they come back to it, and sometimes they come back to it and remember the transition and why and how they were in a coma and what it was like to be in a coma. But again, another video. Consciousness, your body, and how consciousness interacts with bodies, living, animated bodies. So, wow, there's a lot of information here that I have to pass up. Anyway, your consciousness aligns with your body because you are aligned with this kind of consciousness, with the human thing. You're not aligned with a consciousness in another creature that lives in another galaxy or another planet. You're not aligned with that. You're aligned with this. And a cat's or a dog's consciousness is aligned with that kind of a life. That's why they're there. And so, yes, they do have souls, whatever. You know, we have a lot of these words, and religion has owned them and used them and manipulated them or even created them for its own purposes, and then it's hard for you to use that word outside of that religion because it has all these religious connotations in it. So I'm going to flip back and forth and say consciousness and soul, and maybe your mind, your astral body, that all kind of the same thing. And animals have that too. Dogs, cats, birds, frogs. It's just more complicated as the body gets more complicated. Well, as a life, yes. Now, could you inhabit a cat? Robert Monroe talked about inhabiting other beings. That there was a guide that showed him how to do that. I haven't seen it personally, but I have seen the souls of animals shortly after they left their physical body, which was dead. Like one cat of mine had been hit by a car back in the old days, and probably minutes after that, the cat just shrugged it off and walked back in the house as an astral cat, walked right through the physical door because why not? And yeah, and I was my astral self, and I was like, what? Is that my astral cat? I could see the difference. I was like, how, why, what? And then right back to the physical, right? That's an important thing. If I wanted to find out what was going on. And I just kind of put it on the back burner. But then my mom at that time, I was living with my mom back in the old my childhood basically. And she went for a walk and found the cat had been hit by a car. And it was a bloody mess. Apparently the cat had been hit by a car and wandered around bleeding and all that stuff. So you would think it was a traumatic death, but not for the cat. The animals seem to shrug it off more than anything else. And the body has a consciousness of its own, so the soul detaches probably pretty easily, especially for animals in a death situation. And the body does its own thing to try and survive. That's why there's bodies in the hospital that are on life support and they're still alive, but there's almost nobody in there. There's no soul in there, or the soul's connection with it is very tenuous. It's very small. It's kind of like you have stuff in that junk drawer of yours, and it might mean a lot to you. And if somebody came in and stole it, you'd be really unhappy. But a very small part of you is invested in that, and that's kind of like what a coma would be for a lot of people. That is not how animals see themselves. They shrug it off like that. They have no problem with it. They just, the body dies and they on to what's next. No problem with it whatsoever. No attachment to it. Humans, we have a huge amount of attachment to our bodies and our physical lives. So much so that people, let me center myself a little bit here. So much so that people haunt, their lives after death. They hang around their body. They try and get back in it. They try to get back to their old life. The body has been cremated, right? There's no hope here, right? They're like, no, and they want to interact, and they're at their funeral, and they're saying, no, I didn't do that. You can't say that, right? um, yeah, but it's over, right? It's over, it's over. But we have such an attachment to it. And that's kind of the evolution of consciousness, which is a big reason why I think we're here. We're at a transition point between the animal stage, which is completely happy with what it has, and when it dies, even if it's a lot in the animal world is a tragic death. Almost nothing dies in nature of old age. Okay, you see the birds and the trees and the butterflies. I hate to break it to you, but they're all dying in tragic ways, violent deaths usually, right? The butterfly is going to get a little old and its wings are going to get a little raggedy, and a bird is going to come down and crush it and tear it to shreds, right? Okay? That's the thing. That's the way the world works. And that bird, when he gets a little old and a little slow, a hawk is going to come by and knock it senseless. And you got to think of being knocked out. What is being knocked out? Maybe the soul is being knocked out. The body has its own consciousness. It'll fight. Matter of fact, a lot of people have said during bad illnesses or when they were in extreme pain that they had an out of body experience and looked down at their body that was screaming and fighting on its own. They were separate from it. That's the situation. The body has its own consciousness and it will fight and try and stay alive and do whatever it feels it has to do. And there's a little bit of you in there even when you're out, right? You're not fully out until it's dead and until it's entirely gone, until it changes. After rigor mortis, the body starts to change into something else and you can't inhabit it at all in any way. Or it's cremated, right? Okay, anyway. And the animals don't have any problem with that. As soon as the mortal coil is sort of broken, they're done, they're on to the next thing. They're totally over it, which is awesome. But they don't have all the consciousness that we have that pulls us towards this and pulls us to that. We wanted to do this and we want to be remembered like this. They don't have any of that. They don't have any of those attachments. They're not complicated enough to do that. They do have some attachments about their people in their lives, their loved ones in their lives. Other pets that you have, they may love those pets, or they love you, or they love their surroundings. Those are the connections that they have in this world, and that's their alignment. They're aligned with that. Now, why is that important? Because when you want to visit them in the astral, that's where they are. They're at your childhood home for your childhood pets. Your childhood pets is still back in the astral version of your childhood home. I'm not sure how long pets stay in the astral form. When humans get into the astral form, and I talked about this before, they have an evolutionary stage from when they spring the mortal coil to they leave the astral situation of Earth, which is another thing. A lot of people do incarnations here, and they go back and forth to learn and grow as a human being before they go on to something else. Not everybody does. Some people are just here for a one-shot thing, and they're on to the next thing, next planet or whatever. And sometimes there's last timers here, and then they're done. They're done. Okay, but pets don't have that. They align with their surroundings and their people. And if you want to see your childhood pet and you're 80, I'm not 80, that pet is probably still back. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, but Frank, time isn't a thing. It's not real. It is real. It is real. Look, time is passing now. The thing with time is that it's relative. Einstein said that. It's relative. Time passes quickly when you are in a space where it's supposed to, and it can pass more slowly, and that whole thing. In the astral, time is a thing too. A lot of beings that are aligned with the physical have a internal clock, you might think, of the way time is supposed to pass, and time for them passes as such in the astral. So we do minutes, hours, whatever, right? We have a day. We have one thing before the next, before the next, before the next. Say it takes me, I don't know, 10 seconds to put my hand, 1 second to put my hand up. That's an amount of time. And if I did that a lot, maybe I like that a lot, right? And I did that in the astral, it would take me the same amount of time because that's what I'm used to. I align with that. You'll align with other beings and align with a surrounding that aligns with that too. All alignment. And your pets, they're going to be in what they align with. Your past house, your past you, and that time, how time passes there. So they will see time pass in the same way it passed back then. It'll be the same, but say, for instance, if a black hole came to the planet and time passed a heck of a lot slower, and the planet became a black hole, it doesn't matter. In the astral, time is going to pass like it's passing right here, right now, or it has no connection to the physical, and it's just what they align with. Even though the time on the physical may change a lot, which it does, honestly, at least a little. In the astral, it is like it is, like this, because that's what they align with. Keep it simple. So that's where they are. That's where they definitely are. And I've gone to my childhood home and been surprised that the pets are still there. I've gone to my grandparents' homes in the astral. Everybody has and I've talked about this before too, everybody has a astral counterpart of everything, of just about everything. There's an astral counterpart of this place and my childhood home and your childhood home as well. There's an astral counterpart of that, and you can go back to that in the astral. Even though the physical place may be gone now or totally changed now, there is an astral component of it that has no connection to that really whatsoever. Well, not really whatsoever, but it'll seem that way. You can go right back to your childhood home exactly as you remember it. Exactly as you remember it. Because all your experience created it. Right? The littlest detail is there. And your pets gravitate back to that. And I'll tell you what else gravitates back to that. You're going to gravitate back to that too. I guarantee you gravitate back to it right now and don't even know it. But after people pass away, they go back to all these places they've been and loved And you can find them there. A matter of fact, I had an uncle that passed away, and I wanted to get in contact with him, and he had never been to the new place that I have. Well, he'd never been to this place or the place before it, which is so he couldn't align with that. He couldn't see me in my world because he didn't align with anything in my world. So I had to go to a place where we had some alignment together, where we had both been at one time. Because he could align with that because he had that in his experience. And then we met. So it's a lot about alignment. And I bring that up because at some point you're probably going to need this information on the other side. And now you heard it, it's in your soul, right? You can retrieve this after you've passed away. Sprang the mortal coil. Okay, so yes, they are in the astral. They are doing their thing. What are they doing? They're living their lives a lot like they live their lives now, except they don't need food, they don't need water, they don't need the kitty litter, and the dog doesn't need to go out, right? A better life. And they like you. And when you show up at that place, they're all about you, just like when you came home from work or whatever it is. They're there and they're waiting for you right now. And since we go back there, their experience of what it is probably a lot like it is in the physical, that you are there and then you go away for an hour or two and then you come back. You look totally different. You look a little older. And then you go away for a few minutes and then you come back and now you have gray hair, right? And then you go away and you come back and you look really old, but it's still you. And then you go away for a few minutes and then you come back and now you've passed the mortal coil and you look a little younger, right? And you look a lot younger. This is what it looks like to them, I'm pretty sure. So now here's another thing. Pets don't pass, well, I want to say pets don't go to heaven, but they do, but they're also here. So if you're living your life and it's a loving pet and that pet passes away and the pet loved you and you love the pet, that pet is, at least in the short term, at least for how long? A year? At least a year, I would say, and maybe a decade. That pet is still in your vicinity. Astrally, they go to astral components of it and the physical components of it, I find. I'm not really sure how that works, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with alignment. You move the furniture and you decorate and you clean up and stuff like that, and they don't align with that as much as they used to, and it kind of breaks they will eventually be more and more in the astral component of the house that they know and have experienced, as opposed to the physical. But they're still there, and they'll pop in when they're remembered, if it's a place that they align with, if it's a place that they remember. If you're in a new, say, if your childhood home, okay, and then you move to someplace else, and then you have an apartment, and then you move to someplace else, and you have a house, and then you remember your childhood pet. That childhood pet is not going to be in the physical vicinity. Their soul, their consciousness is not going to be in the physical vicinity of your new house, right? After moving around for 3 decades or whatever it is, not going to be there. But it will feel the love that you're giving to it. And that's another thing. The people on the other side feel that connection you have with them, whether it's hate, whether it's love, whether it's whatever it is. When you attach them to it, it's like you're sending them a letter of that feeling. So, if they did a lot of bad things to you and you keep thinking about bad things that they did to you, you keep sending them that letter. This is why we say you're sending them like a bad letter, a bad report card on what their life here was like, at least for you. They have other people sending them the other things. And this is kind of where I think we got the culture of not saying bad things about the dead. First of all, they can't defend themselves so well here, right? They can, but not so well. Second of all, you're just that's wrong in itself, and you're just sending them hate when it's probably not the whole picture or even close to the whole picture, because we're much more injured by hate and by negativity, and we're much more prone to hate, and so it's kind of unfair to them and to yourself, honestly. This is where forgiveness comes in. You forgive the dead anyway because they are different now. They have to be. Their personality disorders are gone. Their beliefs and stuff are gone. All that stuff. For humans, it's really complicated. But going back to animals, they don't have all that. They don't have a whole lot of baggage. They might have a little. They might be coming to the point where they love things. Um, that is going to eventually create another chakra. That's going to create the heart chakra. And then that's another thing. Animals don't have many chakras. They usually have three, right? There are three big ones. They don't have the heart chakra yet. It's just too complicated. When they do get that, at least from what I hear and what my experiences have been, then it's time to become a human. And they will probably go for being a human rather than going to some other planet or whatever. Or being a gorilla, which is kind of the halfway, at least about half. It's as much of a halfway point as we have on this planet now. And since they have no alignment with going back in time and trying out all the proto-humans that existed at one time, they're just going to buck it up to be a human being. And it's going to be really messy at first. But that's a whole nother video. So I rambled on for 27 minutes about animals and the astral. Yeah, they're definitely out there. They're definitely in their heaven. And you definitely can and will visit them. And they'll be entirely grateful that you're there. And when a pet newly passes away, they are around you a lot more than you think. They're basically doing their thing all the time that they did in the physical, just like they used to. Especially in the beginning, the first few weeks and months, they're just there doing their thing. Like, and if you go out of your body, you're going to see that pet, that deceased pet, that dog that you had just laying by your bed like the dog always did when it was alive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So be comforted in that. They are there, and they are always connected to you. And yes, they do reincarnate. That's another thing I should bring up, right? These videos, there's always another thing. Hang in there with the videos. Go to the end because there's always a new what? Yeah, they do reincarnate. They do reincarnate, and I have seen that, and I have seen how they, in the astral, they choose bodies a lot like what they have, a lot easier than people do. So if I died right now, I would look like this. Probably for the first 3 months. And then I'd probably choose something a little younger and more vital. Right. Right. And then after that, I might choose something even just kind of different in a human being. And that's where pets, they do also do that. Um, for instance, I had a German Shepherd, I don't know, mutt mix. And that dog in the astral would switch into other closely aligned dog-like. Yeah, so I don't know how long that dog reincarnated. I don't know if that dog reincarnated from other families. So, like, I tend to think that the pets reincarnate from family to family to family, your family. So, let's just say there's no point zero, but let's just say there is, for argument's sake, right? It's 1920, and your great grandparents, by cracky, they came to the United States, and they didn't have anything, and blah blah blah. They walked 20 miles in the snow just to go to the store and buy stale bread. Okay, so eventually they got some money, and they had a dog, and they bought a cat, a puppy and a kitten, right? By cracky, that's how it all started. And so you have these souls, and now those souls go with them and are aligned with those people, and those pets pass away. 10, 15 years, and your great grandfather said, "By cracky, I want another dog," and went out and got a puppy. Very good chance that puppy is a reincarnation of the last dog they had. And you'll say, "Hey, man, that puppy was alive." Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. Another thing. Another thing. Another thing. Pets don't, from what I know, they don't have any concept of time travel. So they can reincarnate into the next generation, but they won't reincarnate into a previous generation like humans can. So if you want a reincarnation of your dog or cat, you have to wait till they're deceased and wait some time, a week, a day. Well, probably not a day. That's a little soon. It might be, though. I've never seen the actual process of reincarnation for pets. So I'm not sure how soon and what it looks like and blah, blah, blah. But you have to wait some time. Wait a month or so, or a week or so. And then a born, especially if it's born in the same place that the last pet passed away, you're very likely to get a reincarnation of that pet. Yeah. And there's some proof to this. Very much around cloned dogs. We know how to clone dogs, and a lot of that is done pretty much in the space of having working dogs, dogs that help blind people navigate their surroundings, or military dogs sniffing out bombs and stuff or whatever. And they clone the best breeds of these. Instead of having to find another dog, they clone them, they do breed them, and it's a whole thing. And they say when they clone them, they know things that they can't know. They know trainings that they haven't been taught. And they're like, I don't know what to make of it. I guess it's a clone. It's the eeriest thing. Yeah, so there is proof to this. And yeah, and so that's the best way to get it done. I would have a dog. Yeah, so it's got to be the same place and the same a lot, so they can align to it. But yeah, you can go out to a place where they have puppies and kittens and pick up a kitten there that was born a few weeks ago, and as long as your cat died a few months ago, it's pretty common that kitten is probably going to be a reincarnation, especially if you had a really serious connection with it. Yeah, and it wants to reincarnate into your new family. And this goes on, and then your grandparents pass, your great grandparents pass away, and that pet can reincarnate into your grandparents' family, and then it can reincarnate into your family, and then it can reincarnate into your kids' families. Yeah, why not? Right? This is how the animal world works. Now, for us, it's much more dynamic and fluid, and we can do a lot more, but because we're a lot more of a consciousness. But for the animal world, it's about, for pets, it's about humans and the space. That's their world. Hey, I have an indoor cat. The cat has stayed in this place for 4 years. Okay, this is it. This is my cat's world. When I go to the astral, this is where the cat's going to be. It's not going to be downtown, right? Cat's never seen it. That's their world. The human and the space. The human in the space. The human in the space. That's what they follow. So if I start a whole nother family, that this pet is going to follow me one way or another, physically and or reincarnationally, into the next family. And that's how they see things. That's their world. And that's their reincarnational path, spiritual growth path. And eventually they can become so complicated that they actually want to become a human being and can become a human being. They won't align anymore with being an animal. It'll be just too limiting. They can't do it anymore. And they want desperately to be a human being, and that's a whole nother video and a whole nother topic. So, all right, great people, wonderful people. Remember to like and subscribe and leave comments. I really should say that at the beginning of the video, and I will do that next time. Have a great time. See you out in the astral.